Right. And check to make sure we're online. Alright, we are online, ready to go. Okay, let's get the guitar. Ulakashare Adiane Bulitenayane Baule Koranga Buliteabe Ulakashare Adiane Bulitenayane Arakabe Caitanya Corona Hoibe Samsara Bashana Ora Kabe Tujoibe Arakabe Caitanya Corona Samsara Bashana Ora Kavirja Vishaya Shari Kafe Shuname Mana Kabe Amani Raposhi Vrindavana Vishaya Kabe Shuname Mana Kabe Amani Raposhi Vrindavana Ubarado Nakapade Hoibe Akute Kabe Amamu Zapose Yugala Bide Uparado Nakapade Oibe Akote Kabe Amamu Zapose Yugala Bide Uparado Nakapade Rahomo Rasha Pratana Kore Sada Naratam Das Ruparado Nakapade Rahomo Rasha Pratana Kore Sada Naratam Das Ulakashare Adiane Mulite Nayane Rabe Koranga Iteane Ulakashare Ati ate Mulite Nayane Rabe Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare, Bhakti Ram Mama Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Pada Prabhupada, 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 Nijai Go, Haribo, 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 Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Paramahansa, also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chatana, the Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantagoti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadai, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kun Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuranam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamurabai Ki Jai, Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarani. So, let me read the translation to this Vaishnava poem. When will that opportune moment come to me when I shiver upon chanting the name of Lord Gauranga? When will I cry while chanting Hare Krishna? When will I receive the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda so that my desires for material enjoyment become insignificant? When will my mind be purified of material anxieties and desires so that I can understand Vrindavana? When shall I be very eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis so that I can understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna? The lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis are my only shelter. In constant separation from them, I remain Narottama Das. So Narottama Das Thakur. So we're going to continue with our reading of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, chapter 9 of the Antya Lila. So Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshuran Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, let's go on. We're going to read about Gopinath Patanyayaka and the Bhavananda Roy family, and we're going to finish up this chapter today. So, let's go. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay. Okay, so we are on text 138. Ramaraya Vaninate Kaila Nirvishaya Si Kripa Mote Nahi Yate Ache Hai. Your real mercy has been granted to Ramananda Roy and Vaninath Roy, for you have detached them from all material opulence. I think that I have not been favored by such mercy. Of course, this is Gopinath Pachanayaka speaking. Gopinath Pachanayaka was saved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy from being killed by being thrown down on the Changa, which are upraised swords. And he's thinking that sort of mercy is not as great as that received by his brother, Ramananda Roy, and his father, Vaninath Roy. Shuddha Kripakara Goshani Gutchaha Vishaya Nirvina Hainun Mote Vishaya Nahaya. Kindly bestow upon me your pure mercy, so that I may also become renounced. I am no longer interested in material enjoyment. So he wanted to become disinterested in this material world. That is the Lord's mercy. Prabhu kahe sannyasi kayave haiba pancha jana kutumba bahulya tamara kaya kare varana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you all adopt the renounced order and lose interest in dealing with pound, shilling, and pence, who will take charge of maintaining your large family? So in other words, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is advising Gopinath Pachanayaka, don't renounce artificially. You have to do service and take care of your family that's engaged in devotional service. And if you're taking care of your family and working a job and using the money properly, that is also devotional service. Mahavishaya kara kiva virakta urasa janme janme tumi pancha mora nija dasa. Whether you're involved in material activities or become completely renounced, you five brothers are all my eternal servants, birth after birth. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that one should always remember that he is eternally a servant of Krishna. Whether one is engaged in material activity involving pounds, shillings, and pence, or is in the renounced order, he should always think that he is an eternal servant of God, for that is the real position of a living being. Both taking sannyas and dealing in pounds, shillings, and pence are external affairs. In any condition, one should always consider how to please and satisfy Krishna. Thus, even if one is involved in great material affairs, he will not become attached. As soon as one forgets that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes involved in material attachments. In other words, that's the key. Always remember, I'm Krishna's servant. Whatever I do, whoever I am, I belong to Krishna. I don't have the adhikara right to do anything different. However, if one is always conscious that Krishna is the Supreme Master and that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he is a liberated person in any condition. Entangling material activities will not affect him. So, Kintu Mora Kariha Eka Agnya Palana Vyayana Kariya Kitchu Rajara Mula Dana. However, just to obey one order from me, do not spend any of the king's revenue. In other words, you can spend the money that you make, but don't cheat and take money that's meant for the king, meant for the kingdom. When a person forgets his position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he commits many sinful activities. But one who maintains his position as an eternal servant of Krishna cannot deviate from the path of morality, religion, and ethics. At the present, people all over the world, especially in India, have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his eternal servants. Therefore, the principles of morality, religion, and ethics have almost disappeared. This situation is most unprofitable for human society. Therefore, everyone should try to accept Krishna consciousness and follow the principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, Yat Karoshi Yat Yat Jajos Jahashi Yajahashi Dadasayat Yata Pashashi Antya Tat Kudachwa Manarvanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, should be done as an offering to me, Krishna says. So it doesn't matter. You can be a businessman or you can be a sannyasi, but whatever you do, you should be thinking this is for Krishna's pleasure. Rajaramula dana diya, ye kichu labya hoya, say dana kariya nana, dharme karme vyaya. First, you should pay the revenue due to the king, and then you may spend the balance for religious and fruitive activities. That means for your own maintenance. Asadvyaya nakariya yate dviloka yaya eter bali sabakare dilena vidhaya. Don't spend a farthing for sinful activities for which you will be the loser both in this life and the next. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade them farewell. Vayera gare prabhura kripa vivarta kahila bhakta vatsalya gunayate vyakta haila. Thus the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was spoken of in the family of Bhavananda Roy. That mercy was clearly demonstrated, although it appeared to be something different. So Prabhupada says the result of advancement in spiritual knowledge is not material improvement, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised Gopinath Pattanayaka how to use material opulence without incurring reactions to sinful life. From this advice, it appeared that the Lord encouraged Gopinath Pattanayaka to enhance his material condition. Actually, however, he did not. In fact, this was but a manifestation of his great affection for his devotee. Sabaya lingya prabhu vidaya yabi dila horidwani kari saba bhakta uti gela. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them all and bade them farewell. Then all the devotees got up and left, loudly chanting the holy name of Hari. Prabhura kripa deki sabara haila chamatkara Tahara bhujite nare prabhura vyavahara. Seeing the extraordinary mercy the Lord granted to the family of Bhavananda Roy, everyone was struck with wonder. They could not understand the behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tada sabi yadi kripa karite sadila amahite kichunahe prabhutave kahila. Indeed, when all the devotees had requested the Lord to bestow his mercy upon Gopinath Pattanayaka, the Lord had replied that he could do nothing. When a person is sinful, he loses both the chance for spiritual advancement and the chance for material opulence. If one enjoys the material world for sense gratification, he is certainly doomed. Advancement of material opulence is not the direct mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nevertheless, it indicates the indirect mercy of the Lord. For even a person too attached to material prosperity can gradually be detached and raised to the spiritual platform. Then he can offer causeless, purified service to the Lord. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amakaite Kichunahi, it is not my business to do anything, he set the ideal example for a person in the renounced order. If a sannyasi takes the side of a Vishaya, a person engaged in material activities, his character will be criticized. A person in the renounced order should not take interest in material activities, but if he does so out of affection for a particular person, that should be considered his special mercy. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had special mercy for the Roy family. Gopinath Ninda Arapana Nirveda Emata Kahila Gihara Navuchi Pe Beda. I've simply described the chastisement of Gopinath Pattanayaka and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's indifference, but the deep meaning of this behavior is very difficult to understand. Kashi Mishre na sadila, Rajare na sadila, Udyoga Bina Mahaprabhu Eta Paladila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave so much to Gopinath Pattanayaka without directly making requests of either Kashi Mishra or the king. Chaitanya Charitamrta Parama Gambhira Se Bhuje Tanra Pade Yanramana Dira. The intentions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are so deep that one can understand them only if he has complete faith and service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Yehihan Shune Prabhuda Vatsalya Prakasha Prema Bhakti Paya Tanra vipadayaya nasha. Whether or not one understands it, if one hears of this incident concerning the activities of Gopinath Pattanayaka and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon him, certainly one will be promoted to the platform of ecstatic love for the Lord. And for him, all dangers will be nullified. So the point is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had affection for this whole family, particularly because the family was actually an expansion or incarnation of the five Pandavas, and particularly because one of them, Ramananda Roy, was his intimate friend. So, in other words, if you're a relative of a great devotee, then you get special mercy. The great devotee gives you that special mercy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reciprocates with that understanding. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yarasha Caitanya Charitamrta Kahi Krishna Dasa. Of course, this is the end again. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta, following in their footsteps, and thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta, Antya Lila 9th chapter, describing the deliverance of Gopinath Pattanayaka and the manifestation of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy to his devotee. So we did 138 to the end, and now we're going to start with the next chapter, which is chapter 10 of the Adi Lila. Chapter 10. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts prasadam from his devotees. This is another ecstatic chapter. So read the chapter summary. The following summary of chapter 10 is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhasha. Before the Rath Yatra ceremony, all the devotees from Bengal started for Jagannath Puri as usual. Raghava Pandit brought with him various kinds of food for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The food had been cooked by his sister, Damayanti, who then packed it in bags, jali. That's the Bengali word for bags. Thus the stock of food was generally known as Raghavera Jali, the bags of Raghava. Markota Raja Kara, an inhabitant of Panihati who accompanied Raghava Pandit, was the secretary in charge of accounting for the Raghavera Jali. The day when all the devotees arrived at Jagannath Puri, Lord Govinda was enjoying sporting pastimes in the waters of the lake known as Narendra Sarovara. So Lord Govinda is one of the Utsava Murtis, or the smaller deities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also enjoyed the ceremony. In other words, they put the deity on like a little boat, and they were, I guess, splashing each other and bringing, it's like a boat ceremony. We do that at the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan sometimes. I remember I was there for one of those boat ceremonies. They flooded the courtyard and put flowers, petals all around on the water, and the water was colored. And they put a little boat there, and I got the opportunity to pull the boat for a few minutes around the courtyard. It was one of the most ecstatic occasions I've ever had. As previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed the cleansing ceremony at Gundicha and chanted the famous verse, Jagamohana Parimunda Yal. After kirtan ended, he distributed prasadam to all the devotees and also took some himself. Then he lay down at the door of the Gambhira to take rest. Somehow or other, Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, crossed over the Lord's body and massaged his feet. Govinda could not go out that day, however, and therefore he was unable to accept prasadam. From the character of Govinda, it is to be learned that we may sometimes commit offenses for the service of the Lord, but not for sense gratification. This is a very interesting story we're going to hear about later on. Govinda induced the Lord to eat all the food delivered by the devotees of Bengal for his service. All the Vaishnavas used to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to their homes. The Lord accepted the invitation of Chaitanya Das, the son of Shivananda Sen, and ate rice and yogurt there. Okay, now we start. Bande Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Bhaktanugraha Kataram Yena Kadapi Santushtam Bhakta Datena Shadaya. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is always pleased to accept anything given with faith and love by his devotees, and is always ready to bestow mercy upon them. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Dvaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Varshantare Saba Bhakta Prabhure Dekite Paramanande Sabe Dilachala Yaite. The next year, all the devotees were very pleased to go to Jagannath Puri, Nilachala, to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaita Acharya Goswami Sarvagra Ganya Acharya Ratna Acharya Nidhi Shivasadi Danya. Advaita Acharya Goswami led the party from Bengal. He was followed by Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Srivas Thakur, and other glorious devotees. Yadyapi Prabhu Rajnag Gauri Rahite Tatapi Nityananda Preme Chalila Dekite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had ordered Lord Nityananda to stay in Bengal, but nevertheless, because of ecstatic love, Lord Nityananda also went to see him, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Lord Nityananda to stay in Bengal to preach. He said, "Don't come to see me every year." But Lord Nityananda disobeyed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions because he couldn't bear to not see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 4 months during the period of time of the Rath Yatra and all the other festivals. Anuragera Lakshanae Virinahi Mane Tanrakya Bange Tanra Sangera Karane. Indeed, it is the symptom of real affection that one breaks the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not caring for the regulated principles. We're not talking about the 4 regular principles, but a particular order to associate with him. Rasayachikara Yaite Gopireagya Dila Tanra Agya Bangi Tanra Sange Se Rakila. During the rasa dance, Krishna asked all the gopis to return home, but they neglected his order and stayed there for his association. Agna Palane Krishnara Yache Paritosha Preme Agya Bangilehaya Koti Sukha Posha. If one carries out Krishna's order, Krishna is certainly pleased. But if one sometimes breaks his order due to ecstatic love, that gives him millions of times greater happiness. Wow. Vasudeva Datta Murari Gupta Ganga Dasa Shriman Sena Shriman Pandita Kinchana Krishna Dasa Murari Guru Pandita Buddhimanta Kana Sanjaya Purushottama Pandita Bhagavan Shuklambara Nishingananda Ara Yatak Jana Savai Chalila Nama Nayaya Likana. Vasudev Dutt, Murari Gupta, Gangadas, Srimad Seda, Srimad Pandit, Akinchana Krishnadas, Murari Garuda Pandit, Buddhimanta Khan, Sanjaya Purushottam, Bhagavan Pandit, Shuklambara, Brahmachari, Nishingananda Brahmachari, and many others joined together to go to Jagannath Puri. It will be impossible to mention the names of them all. Of course, they went together from Sridham Mayapur and other places in Bengal to Orissa every year to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kulina Grami, Khandavasi, Milila, Siya, Shivananda Sena Chalila Savare Lana. The inhabitants of Kulina Grama and Khanda also came and joined. Shivananda Sen took the leadership and thus started taking care of them all. So Shivananda Sen was a businessman, he had money, so his service was actually caring for all the Vaishnavas. We've heard stories about that before. Even he cared for a dog that was following. That story was told previously in the Caitanya Caritamrta. Raghava Pandita Chale Jale Sajaiha Damayanti Yata Dravya Diache Kariya. Raghava Pandit came with bags full of food prepared very nicely by his sister Damayanti. So just many, many bags full of course they're dried food, things that wouldn't spoil. Nana Purvabhaksha Dravya Purpura Yogya Bhoga Vatsareka Prabhuyaha Karena Yoga. Damayanti made varieties of unparalleled food just suitable for Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord ate it continually for 1 year. So here's some of the preparations. Amra Kashandi, Ari Kashandi, Jala Kashandi Nama, Nembuada Amra Koli, Vivida Vidanam, Siyama Kanda, Tailam Rama Sata, Yatnakari, Gundakari, Purana Sakuta. These are the names of some of the pickles and condiments, because the pickles and condiments would actually last for the whole year. In the bags of Raghava Pandit, Amra Kashandi, Ada Kashandi, Jalakashandi, Nembuada, Amra Koli, Amsi, Amakanda, Tailamra, and Amasata. With great attention, Damayanti also made dry, bitter vegetables into a powder. So she dehydrated them, and that way they would last for the whole year. Shukata balaya bhagdana kariyachite, Shukutaya ye sukha prabhurata nahi panchamrite. Do not neglect sukata because it is a bitter preparation. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu derived more happiness from eating this shukata than from drinking panchamrita, a preparation of milk, sugar, ghee, honey, and yogurt. Why did he take more joy in eating this bitter preparation? Because it was made with love by his devotee. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. And actually, there's even that one story there where Krishna was accepting banana peels. When the devotee was peeling the bananas, the devotee was so ecstatic that he didn't know the difference between the inside of a banana and the peel of the banana. He was offering banana peels, and Krishna accepted the banana peels. Baba Grahi Mahaprabhu Snena Matralaya Sukata Pata Kashandate Maha Sukapaya. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he extracts the purpose from everything. He accepted Damayanti's affection for him, and therefore he derived great pleasure even from the dried bitter leaves of Sukata and from Kashandi, the sour condiment. Manusha Buddhi Damayanti Kare Prabhura Paya Guru Bhojane Udare Kabu Ama Hanna Yaya. Because of her natural love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Damayanti considered the Lord an ordinary human being. Therefore she thought that he would become sick by overeating, and there would be mucus within his abdomen. Even here I have some mucus, but I'm an ordinary human being. Because of pure love, the devotees of Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan Brajabhumi loved Krishna as an ordinary human being like them. Yet although they considered Krishna one of them, their love for Krishna knew no bounds. Similarly, because of extreme love, devotees like Raghava Pandit and his sister Damayanti thought of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a human being, but their love for him was boundless. By overeating, an ordinary human being becomes prone to a disease called amlapitta, which is a product of indigestion characterized by acidity of the stomach. Damayanti thought that such a condition would afflict Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, something like acid reflux. Sukata kaile seyama hai beka nasha e snehamane vave prabora ulasa. Because of sincere affection, she thought that eating the sukata would cure the Lord's disease. Considering these affectionate thoughts of Damayanti, the Lord was very pleased. Priyena sangrata vipaksha tanitav upahitam vakshasi pit pivarastane shrajam nakachet vidjaha jalavilam vasantihi premni guna navastune. A dear lover strung a garland and placed it on the shoulder of his beloved in the presence of her co-wives. She had raised breasts and was very beautiful. Yet although the garland was tainted with mud, she did not reject it, for its value lay not in material things, but in love. This is a verse from the Caritamrta by Bhagavad. In other words, the main point is the love, not the material object itself, especially with Krishna. Now, if the material object is thought of as important in a loving relationship, that's not a loving relationship. That is called exploitation, lust. possessiveness, using the other person as an object rather than a subject. Danyamo harira tandulagunda kariya nadu bandiyache jinapaka kariya. Damayanti powdered coriander and anise seeds, cooked them with sugar, and made them into sweetmeats in the shape of small balls. Shuntikanda nadu arama pitakhara pitak bhandi vastrera kutali vitara. She made sweetmeat balls with dry ginger to remove mucus caused by too much bile. She put all these preparations separately into small cloth bags. Koli shunte, koli churna, koli kandahara, katanama lahiba shata, bakara chata. She made 100 varieties of condiments and pickles. She also made koli shunti, koli churna, koli kanda, and many other preparations. How many should I name? Nadi kela kanda nadu, aranadu ganga jala, chirastai kanda vikara, karila sakala. She made many sweetmeats in the shape of balls. Some were made with powdered coconut, and others looked as white as the water of the Ganges. In this way she made many varieties of long-lasting sugar confections. Chirastai shira sara mandari vikara amrita karpurari aneka prakara. She made long-lasting cheese, many varieties of sweetmeats with milk and cream, and many other varied preparations such as amrita karpura. Somehow or other she got them all to last that long. I mean, I don't know how she would do that with milk products, but anyway. Shalika chuti danyara atapa chida kare nutana vastrera bada kutali saba bori. She made flat rice from the fine, unboiled shali patty and filled a large bag made of new cloth. That will definitely be preserved. Kate kachida hundum kaligre tete bajia chini pake naru kaila karpurari dia. She made some of the flat rice into puff rice, fried it in ghee, cooked it in sugar juice, mixed in some camphor, and rolled it into balls. Sounds like that would be preserved. Shalidanyera tandulabaja churna kariya grita shikta churna kaila chinapaka dia karpura maricha lavanga elachi rasavasa churna dia nadu kaila parama suasa. She powdered fried grains of fine rice, moistened the powder with ghee, and cooked it in a solution of sugar. Then she added camphor, black pepper, cloves, cardamom, and other spices, and rolled the mixture into balls that were very palatable and aromatic. Shale danyara kai punagritete bajia chini pako da kaila kapuradi dia. She took parched rice from fine patty, fried it in ghee, cooked it in a sugar solution, mixed in some camphor, and thus made a preparation called ukda or mud ki. All right. Putkalai churnakari grite bajaila chinapake kapurari dianadu kala. Another variety of sweet was made with fused peas that were powdered, fried in ghee, and then cooked in sugar juice. Camphor was added, and then the mixture was rolled into balls. This is all a manifestation of her love. That's why these things are being described. Not so that you will get attracted to eating these things, so that you will understand how much Damayanti loved Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kahite na jani nama e janme yahara aiche nana vakshadravya sahasra pakara. I could not even mention the names of all these wonderful eatables, even in a lifetime. Damayanti made hundreds and thousands of varieties. Raghaverangya Arakarena Damayanti Dunhara Prabhute Sneha Padama Bhakati. Damayanti made all these preparations following the order of her brother Raghava Pandit. Both of them had unlimited affection for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and were advanced in devotional service. Ganga Mritikani Vastrete Chaniya Panpadi Karyadila Ganda Dravya Diya. Damayanti took earth from the Ganges, dried it, powdered it, strained it through a fine cloth, mixed in aromatic ingredients, and rolled it into small balls. Patalamrit patre sandhanari bhari arasabhavastubhari vastrera kutale. The condiments and similar items were put into thin earthen pots, and everything else was put into small cloth bags. Samanya jali haite dviguna jali kaila paripati karisava jali varaila. From small bags, Damayanti made bags that were twice as large. Then with great attention she filled all the large ones with the small ones. Sounds like a lot of bags. Jali Vandi Maharadila Agraha Kariya Tina Bochhari Jali Vahi Krama Kariya. She then wrapped and sealed each and every bag with great attention. The bags were carried by 3 bearers, one after the other. So it took 3 men to carry these bags of prasadam for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and remember, they carry them all the way from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. Now, if you take a train, that's an overnight train, it's like 8 hours or something like that. 8 hours from Calcutta. So from Mayapur, it's a little bit longer. So you could figure, it's probably 2 weeks to walk that distance. Sang shape, and that's how much devotion the devotees had. They walked for like 2 weeks to actually reach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every year, and they walked back, of course. Sang shape kailan, and it wasn't on roads either. It was on, basically for many of them, it was jungle paths through the villages. Sang shape kailune jalira vichara ragavera jalivale vijati yahra. Thus I briefly described the bags that have become famous as Raghavera Jali. Jalira Upara Munshiba Makara Dvajakara Pranagrupe Jali Rake Hana Tatpara. The superintendent for all those bags was Makara Dvajakara, who kept them with great attention like his very life. E Mate Vaishnavasaba Nilachale Aila Daive Jagannathera Se Dina Jala Lila. Thus all the Vaishnavas from Bengal went to Jagannath Puri. By chance they arrived on the day when Lord Jagannath performs pastimes in the water. That's what I was talking about before. They take the Govinda deity and they put him on a boat, and all the devotees are in the water too with Lord Jagannath, with the Govinda deity, having these wonderful pastimes in Narendra Sarovara. Narendra excuse me. Narendra Rajale Govinda Nokate Charya Jalakrita Kare Saba Bhakta Ganalana. Boarding the boat in the water of Narendra Sarovara, Lord Govinda performed his water pastimes with all the devotees. Say Kalai Mahaprabhu Bhaktagana Sange Narendra Aila Dekite Jala Keli Range. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived with his personal associates to see the jubilant pastimes of Lord Govinda in Narendra Sarovara. That means the lake of Narendra. Se Kali Aila Saba Godera Bhakta Gana Narendra Te Prabhu Sange Haila Milana. At the same time, all the devotees from Bengal arrived at the lake and had a great meeting with the Lord. Bhakta Gana Pradayase Prabhura Charane Utana Prabhu Sabare Kaila Alingane. All the devotees immediately fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord lifted and embraced every one of them. Gaudiya Sampradaya Sabha Karena Kirtana Prabhura Milane Ute Primera Krandana. The Gaudiya Sampradaya, consisting of all the devotees from Bengal, began congregational chanting. When they met the Lord, they began to cry loudly in ecstatic love. Jalakrita Vajagita Nartana Kirtana Maha Kula Hala Tire Salile Kelana. Because of the pastimes in the water, there was great jubilation on the shore with music, singing, chanting, and dancing, creating a tumultuous sound. Gaudiya Sankirtanayara Rodana Miliya Mahakola Hala Haila Brahmananda Bhatiya. Indeed, the chanting and crying of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas mixed and created a tumultuous sound, vibration that filled the entire universe. Wow, what a nice festival. Sabhabhakta Lana Prabhu Namilena Jale Sava Lana Jala Krida Karena Kutu Hale. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the water with his devotees and began his pastimes with them in great jubilation. Prabhura e Jala Krida Dasa Vrindavana Chaitanya Mangale Vistare Kariyachena Varnana. In his Chaitanya Mangal, now known as Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Thakur is given a detailed description of the activities the Lord performed in the water. Punahihan Varnile Punarukti Haya Yartalikana Haya Ara Granta Vadaya. There's no use in again describing here the activities of the Lord. It would simply be repetitious and would increase the size of this book. Jala Lila Kari Govinda Chalila Alaya Nijagana Lana Prabhu Gela Devalaya. After concluding his pastimes in the water, Lord Govinda returned to his residence. In other words, they put the deity back on the altar. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple, taking all of his devotees with him. The deity referred to herein as Govinda is the Vijay Vigraha in the temple of Jagannath. So Vijay, of course, means victory. Also called the Utsava Murti. Utsava means festival deity. When there's a need to take Jagannath somewhere, the Vijaya Vigraha is taken because the body of Jagannath is very heavy. In many temples they have smaller deities, either Radha and Krishna or Lord Jagannath, or different deities, and those are the deities used for the festivals when they take the deity out. The Vijaya Vigraha in the Jagannath temple is known as Govinda. For the pastimes in the Narendra Sarovara, Vijaya Vigraha was carried there instead of Lord Jagannath. Obviously, you couldn't carry Lord Jagannath there. He was so big and you couldn't put him on a boat like that. But the Vijaya, or the Utsava Murti, was perfect for that. And that's what we generally do. We have bathings of the deities here, such as in Janmashtami and other days like that. We actually have small deities. We don't bathe the big deities of Radha Lokananda. Jagannatha Deki Puna Nijagare Haila Prasada Nana Bhaktagane Koyo Yaila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence after visiting the temple of Jagannath, he asked for a large quantity of Lord Jagannath's prasadam, which he then distributed among his devotees so they could eat sumptuously. So on festival days, they actually ate sumptuously. Although generally Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not advocate the devotees eating sumptuously. But when they're celebrating, that's a different thing. Ishtagoshti Savalana Katakshana Kaila Nija Nija Purva Vasaya Savaya Patayala. After talking with all the devotees for some time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to occupy the individual residences in which they had lived the previous year. Govinda Tani Ragavajali Samarpila Bhojana Grehera Kone Jali Govinda Rakila. Raghava Pandit delivered the bags of eatables to Govinda, who kept them in a corner of the dining room. So this Govinda is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's servant, not the Govinda deity. Remember that. Purvavatse Sarera Jali Ajara Kariya Dravya Bari Bari Rake Antya Grihe Lana. Govinda thoroughly emptied the bags from the previous year and kept them in another room to fill them with other goods. So every year these bags were brought by Raghava Pandit and cooked by Damayanti. So, one more verse and then we'll take questions. Aradina Mahaprabhu Nijagana Lana Jagannatha Deki Lena Sayotane Yana. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with his personal devotees to see Lord Jagannath when Lord Jagannath arose early in the morning. So we read from chapter 10, from the first verse to the 57th. Okay, so let's stop sharing and we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. I will allow you to unmute yourselves, or raise your hands, or type in the text window if you have some questions. Okay, who has some questions? Okay, Madhava, you have some questions.
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Maharaj. What did I do?
Good to see you.
I think it's, don't know, I cannot get my screen. Okay.
Okay, I can hear you fine.
Yes. Okay, so my Dandvat Gurudev, so I think today's reading, like we learned that Lord Mahaprabhu has told Nityanand Prabhu, you stay in Bengal and do the preaching, but you said that of course he's Krishna's expansion, non-different, but still he could not bear the separation, disobeyed. Of course he can do, he's our Dhuta, all those pastimes we know about him. So still he came similarly and the same, and why the best devotee of Krishna in Vrindavan, why they couldn't go to Dwarka, why they were suffering there, why didn't they visit Lord Krishna? Although I know Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, but anyway, so how to understand this?
Well, how to understand this? Because they couldn't relate to Krishna outside of Vrindavan. And outside of Vrindavan, Krishna, this is mentioned in the Caitanya Caritamrta, outside of Vrindavan, Krishna was in a different mood, an awe and reverent mood. And so they could only relate to Krishna in the intimate mood in which he manifested in Vrindavan, which he didn't manifest outside of Vrindavan. And that's why in the Rath Yatra ceremony we have the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan attempting to drag Krishna back to Vrindavan. Because when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, he's Vasudev Krishna. He's an expansion. In other words, the same Krishna, all right, let's get really ontological here. It's the same Krishna in Vrindavan and the same Krishna outside of Vrindavan, but Krishna's manifestation, which is called Vasudeva Krishna, is completely, I wouldn't say completely different, but lacks the intimate manifestations of Krishna in Vrindavan. So it's just like, I mean, for example, okay, here's an example that just came to mind. Let's say someone's married and the wife loves the husband very much. And the husband's at work. And so she goes to the workplace. Anyway, she goes to the workplace and she expects to have, you know, the same sort of relationship in the workplace. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work because he's just busy with all of his associates in the workplace, just doing all these things that require him to do at work. He's talking to his employees. He's talking to so many different people, and she's just saying, "Hey, what about me? What about me?" And he can't really pay attention to her in a very close way. He just says, go back home. So it's the same thing. I mean, it's a rough, really rough metaphor, super rough metaphor. But it's not a perfect metaphor, but it helps one understand that Krishna's in a different mood and they can't relate to him when he's in that mood. I mean, even, okay, when I was young, sometimes I would go to my father's workplace. He owned different businesses. And I just couldn't have that like father-son relationship with him while he was in his workplace. It really wasn't satisfying. When he came home, was relaxed, we were sitting at the dinner table, then the relationship could be there. But outside, it just didn't work, at his workplace. So that's the same thing. I mean, it's a rough, rough metaphor because he's the same person but in a different mood. So all the incarnations of Krishna are The same person, at least the Vishnu Tattva incarnations, the same person, Advaita Chuta Nadi Rananta Rupam, Ajam Purana Purasham Naviyovanam Cha. However, the moods are different. So different devotees. I mean, I was just listening to a class Prabhupada was giving about Lord Nrsingadev. And Lord Nrsingadev appeared. Uh, Lord Nrsingadev appeared, and he was very angry after he killed Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu's soldiers. And Lakshmi, Lakshmi first was thinking, well, it is my husband, but I don't know about him in this mood. But then she was thinking, but maybe it's not. Actually, it's interesting how Prabhupada gave this class. He said, well, maybe it's not my husband. I don't want to be unchaste to my husband, Lakshmi Narayan, unchaste to my husband, because she didn't really recognize, she'd never seen, Prabhupada said she'd never seen such a mood before. Of course, the Nrsinga avatar keeps appearing, but under the influence of Yogamaya, she forgot that that her husband had appeared as Nrsinga before. So she basically didn't recognize him, couldn't relate to him, was thinking maybe it's not even him because of the mood being different. I mean, it looked different too. The mood was different, and therefore they pushed Prahlad Maharaj forward to cool down Lord Nrsingadev. So I hope does that explain things?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much. And it's a simple question, but can I ask one more and maybe later?
Yeah, ask another question.
Yeah, so I know historically, so I'm little bit like this Gopinath Patnaik. I know in Odisha, I had many friends. Patnaika last name is also pretty famous, very well known, like Singh, like my last name, very popular.
Yeah.
So I know his father Bhavananda Roy, his last name Roy, and Ramananda Roy. But how comes it's a confusion? Why this Gopinath Patnaik? So it's kind of, I'm little bit kind of this question.
Yeah,
I don't know.
in other words, how come he had a different name, Patanayaka, which is a different name than Roy?
Yeah.
So I think we'd have to ask someone in Bengal that question, because Patanayaka may refer also to someone's occupation. If any Bengalis are watching right now, probably not. That they could actually they could answer that question. Like for example, generally, in many cases in India, the family name referred to an occupation. Like Hiralal, diamond merchant, like that. So it definitely refers. Even in America, let's say if you had Mr. Taylor, that means his family comes from a family of tailors, people who sewed clothes. So basically, Patanayaka, and someone from Bengal could actually correct me in this because I don't speak Bengali, but Patanayaka may refer to his occupation.
Thank you,
Like
Maharaj.
many of the names. Now I'm not sure. Singh, of course, for you refers to lion, so your occupation is not as a lion, but that's a traditional name.
Yeah, lions means ruler, rules the jungle.
Ruler.
Similarly, Singh, actually, that last name, they were rulers of India. Many states, by this last name, they ruled. Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah, it means you're a ruler. A king.
Yes. Maybe I came from, of course, we all came from Krishna. He was ruler of everybody.
Yes. Yeah, so it means you're lion king. Okay,
Yeah.
That's actually quite interesting.
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask.
Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yes, I am Bengali. And I know that Patanayak and my surname is Maiti, means these are divided like Vaishya. And the Rai means it's that surname came from the government, like Khitab, like Jamindar.
Oh, like Zamindar.
Yeah.
So the Patanayaka name came from his government occupation.
Now,
Right.
Rai came from the government
Right.
occupation.
Oh,
but
Rai
Patanayak,
came from government
yeah,
occupation.
yeah,
So the family name was Patanayaka,
Patanayak, yeah.
and Rai. Oh, that's actually interesting. And Rai is very similar in Sanskrit to Raj or king.
Yes, like Singha as well.
Like
Because
Simha.
some
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this is from, it's a title from the government.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you for clearing that up.
Hare Krishna.
That's very useful. Okay, so just one other question in the text window. Please tell me more about Gopinath Pachanayaka family. Are incarnations of Pandavas. That's just what the Gauragana Dipika says and what the Chaitanya Charitamrta says. And I don't know any more information other than that, other than what the Chaitanya Charitamrita says. Okay? So I think we'll end here. So thank you all
Gurudev,
very much. Yeah, quick.
I have one question related to Madhav Prabhu's question about Krishna and Krishna in Dwarka and Krishna in Vrindavan. I read that when Akrura was taking Krishna and Balram from to Mathura, so they took a bath in one of the river, and the Krishna which came out of the river was Vasudeva Krishna and went with Akrura.
Yeah.
So my question is, uh, there are two different Krishnas.
No, it's the same person, just exhibits himself differently in different circumstances. There's not two different Krishnas. Like a man, like probably gave the example, a man at home and a man at the workplace has different aspects to his personality, and he dresses differently, and different relationships. Okay, we have to end now. Thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada.